Las Vegas green electromagnetic radiation exposure laser shot Arthur Firstenberger's black suburban. Welcome to Just Answering Questions with WAPTech. We have a couple of people accusing me of having bias, etc. Using different standards for proof and fact, using the word truth instead of assertion or belief, or facts, or evidence. How would you be able to hear the Las Vegas suburban getting hit anyway in that loud, chaotic area where everyone was screaming loud as they can? The video being referenced here is me debunking the idea that a video, which, by the way, depending on who you talk to, was faked and totally CGI'd. The conspiracy theorists are making that assertion, by the way. The claim is that the video shows a black suburban being targeted by a laser pointer, green, and sometimes other colors. They'll claim other colors. And being shot or not shot, or shot at, or shot from, it doesn't have a clear narrative, and says it was hit in the back, the front, or the other side. And because the camera's here, the car is here, and the Mandalay Bay is way back there, the assertion is that it was totally too short of a timing because audio delay was non-existent, or there was no sound of a shot, so it's a mystery laser pointer that blew a hole in it, that the laser pointer couldn't have been in Stephen Paddock's hands. Therefore, multiple shooters, green laser designators, and so anyway, in the video, what happens is that you can see a dot that seems to be moving around, and people point out this dot. So I looked at that video, and then I looked at the original video that they're using, that they're freeze framing and then snapping forward and back. So I did the same thing from the source material. And then I point out where the dot they're claiming is moves. The original claim. The one that was made that at least used the original video, because he did point to it, and didn't claim anything other than I see something and I'm assuming something about it. So I pointed out that when the dot's over here, you can see another dot seeming to track visually in a counter way. And if you look at earlier in the video, you see the same dot doing the same thing on multiple cars before and after. And you also see more than one dot. And that the dots line up with light sources in the area as the camera moves around. The dots move, and what you're looking at is a dot that keeps getting drawn over the top of everything, including a telephone pole about 3 feet ahead, and the black space when you're looking down the sidewalk, oncoming traffic side, where a laser pointer dot wouldn't be able to get in unless it's coming from the camera or it's a lens flare in it. I also pointed out that there's no indication of a bullet hole in the vehicle, but bullets can go from Paddock's side through the vehicle because the vehicle is not bulletproof. So someone, of course, made a claim that it was a bulletproof van or Suburban. 100 other things were said. Because every time anybody pointed out that they were talking bullshit, they just made a different version and interpretation. In some cases, deleted the old version so they could still be right. Why would anybody do that when the evidence points against anything other than a lens flare? They start with the presumption that they're going to hear Lee Harvey Oswald fired from an elevated location and hit JFK from behind and make it from the front just to be opposite. So it's the grassy knoll. And it's multiple shooters, even though you don't need multiple shooters. The claim even that a bolt-action rifle was used to do it, therefore it had to be multiple shooters, instead of one guy just firing one bolt action after another. Meanwhile, I'm one of thousands of people who've actually gotten hold of the same type of gun Lee Harvey Oswald did, and just fired with iron sights and ignored the goddamn scope. And they claim the scope couldn't have been broken that day. It had to be broken before because we need our conspiracy theory. See how it works? You start with an assertion. Meanwhile, every one of you remembers being able to get away with shit when you were a kid. Easier if you didn't involve your dumb kid brother or kid sister or friend by just being a lone wolf. See also White Death, a sniper that worked exclusively alone in most cases so that it would be harder for him to be caught, and got away with shooting a shit ton of Germans. I mean, he did have spotters once in a while, but most of the time, no. And there's a bunch of military people who are trained to work independently, not in cells, even though cells or sleeper cells or sleeper spies exist. But they were taught, most people in the military are taught this, to operate independently. They're given instructions, but that's it. They take the shot when they can. They're told to hold back when it's tactically useful, but they're told to fire at, well, one shot, so that they're harder to find. Or if you're doing a barrage from an elevated location, shooting people like fish in a bowl, a barrel, you don't have to do any tactics. You just keep firing. See how none of this fucking shit works? Let's see if we can get that in the other comment. But anyway, you'd be able to hear the Suburban getting hit anyway in that loud, chaotic environment, screaming, everybody's screaming. Are you serious? You're telling people they're wrong with no absolute proof that they're wrong. The same can be said about you. I'm probably interpreting that wrong, but the thing is, I'm not making absolute proof requirements. I'm asking them to acknowledge that when the guy turns the camera, the laser pointer seems to be right next to him on the wall, the same size. It's not changing diameter, but it goes away the instant this light source over here is not in the lens. And it keeps showing multiple pointers if you consider the light source. So the guy also says, stop trying to preach your truth. No, I point to proof, not truth, because truth has been hijacked by liars. The word truth doesn't mean what you say it is. You're using that word against me because you know it'll tick me off. Democrats and liberals hate the word truth because you people lie and call it the truth. It's called Newspeak and the Ministry of Truth. You know that. Dots move around a whole lot when you're aiming from a long distance. The assertion was that it had to be a short distance because it's visible on both the side of the wall here and also at the Suburban, which makes a very limited arc angle unless somebody's literally hovering exactly 14 feet above the fence. The only place at that location that it'd be is somebody in the stands shooting at a car. But it's a lens flare because it does all the things hovering around the center point and then pirouetting it. So it was two laser designators, but one of the laser designator points is always pointing at one of the light sources in the background, and there's a bunch of them moving in sync with the lights and flowing over angles that are making it impossible to be from that location in the stands. There's more holes in your theories than there is in your clothes. Not saying a lot. Laughing my ass off. How do you explain a green laser seen on the street that shot and struck a black Suburban? Because it wasn't a green laser, the vehicle wasn't shot. There might have been a noise in the background. I heard a noise, but that doesn't mean anything. You can hear noises throughout the audio recording. They don't point to that. People focused in on a small section where there's fewer of the lens flares because of brightness issues or something. They didn't pay attention to previously, and later on, the same laser pointer seemed to scan over people. This dot also went over people's eyes, but they didn't wince or blink instinctively because the laser pointer wouldn't do that to them. Well, maybe it was infrared and invisible. The laser designator has to come from the rifle, right? The only thing common to all the laser pointers is the cameraman. So people were also claiming he was holding a rifle at the time. Even though there's another video showing him walking past with no rifle and also looking over his shoulder at where the laser pointer was coming from. The laser dot also swipes over someone's cell phone on the opposite side. Someone found that eventually. But you're totally right because I'm doing truth instead of explaining it. Next. First step is collecting data. There's a lack of publicized data. This is on the 5G meme. Studies are suppressed, and scientists who find inconvenient truths are kicked out of the studies. But your side keeps producing studies that aren't having this problem and are showing, even though you're claiming that, and are showing that they refuse to do basic science, got math errors, or started with an assumption and tried to prove it, and then got pissy when you pointed it out, or just faked data. The microscopic world you can't study or find certain things out about is what we can't comprehend and complete picture of, because there are so many different particles interactions going on, so that any finding can be misleading, associated but not causative. So your assertion is that your side and mine are limited because under a microscope we can't study chemical reactions, electrical reactions, even though we've been doing it for, at this point, 100 years. Because when we study it, we don't find what you believe. Therefore, you claim that nobody can know the answer because you don't agree with the answer. I'm not letting you win an argument here without asking you to, set a set of standards that we can both follow. Your only standard you're presenting is that nobody can ever know the answer, therefore I can make any fucking assertion I want. No, you're not allowed to do that, nor am I. The claim you made under another video is that living things are primarily electric because nervous system. Lots of living things do not have a nervous system. Those are the ones that are claimed to use an electrical system. When something has a nervous system, which is an electrochemical process within a cell, you claim that's an electrical system when it's mostly a chemical reaction system. If it was an electrical system, it wouldn't have a 1/10 of a second delay because electricity travels or can propagate information faster. The electrical reactions you're referring to are on an atomic level between two atoms, or between a whole chain of them reacting in sequence, creating a slowed down propagation delay. And then he quotes, "They are not primarily electric. Demonstration that you don't know either. Electricity is involved in chemistry." Electricity, you keep using that word, it doesn't mean what you mean. Ionic and non-ionic bonding and chemical reactions and other carriers exist. That's not electrical reactions. That's electron reactions between individual atoms. Electrical or electronic reactions have specific meanings. You're misusing the word electrical or electric. I'm not saying I understand, no matter how you want to paint me. You're claiming to have superior knowledge of something while claiming we can never know the answer, and demanding that me saying, yes, we do know the answer, we've learned it over 100 years, and this is hard-earned information. You use it every day when a battery works. You're using this as an excuse to say we're all equal in this. I'm citing sources you're ignoring because you don't like what they say, and like the other person, you are citing sources that fake their evidence. I'm saying we don't understand. No one does. Counterpoint, we do understand. We exploit these on a molecular and atomic level every fucking day, on a chemical level. This is like saying a computer is primarily electric. Well, it is. It's an electrochemical mechanical system. That would make some sense. And biology, you could say the same thing about human beings and animals. But you can't say it's an electrical system or electricity-based system. Computers are an electrical system. They emulate, through electronics and electrical systems, the way living things work. In fact, a computer is an attempt at emulating brain activity, in essence. But it operates on a completely different level because it's fucking silicon! And wires! You cunt! I'm sorry, but I've taught classes where people insisted on saying all sorts of shit that didn't make sense either. I didn't give them their grade. That's all I can do. I'm sure electromagnetic fields will affect behavior, but you don't show proof. And that's the end of the discussion. It's not truth, it's proof. Good day and goodbye. And take your insults with you. The rest of it won't be read.